Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we're talking about contrast. So we're going to make our own Indian-inspired elephant, and we're going to be using contrasting colors for it. So I'm going to set this example aside so we can make our own. You want a piece of paper, pencil eraser. I'm going to be painting mine in. So I'm going to be coloring in using crowns because crowns are made of wax. And to finish it off, I'm actually going to be painting it. So if you have paints, you can use paints for this project. So I have my paints, but I'm going to set those aside because we do not need them yet. What we want to do first is we want to draw out our elephant. Now to help me do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper just because it helps me have some guidelines. So I'm going to fold it in half like a hot dog first. And then I'm going to fold it over one more time so I can have 4 different sections. And that will help me with drawing my elephant and fitting everything in. So now I have these fold lines that I can use as guidelines. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to start out with a line on the left half of my paper. And I'm going to make a round line that goes up, over, down, and then scoops back up right here. Almost like a really big C is what this looks like. Now I'm going to add a line in this bottom square that goes up, over, and connects together like that. Once I have that line, I'm going to add my next line. And I'm going to take the top of this and scoop it up right here to the center point. Once I have that, I'm going to add another line back here to the top. So you can see our elephant starting to come together. Now that we have that step done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my line right here and I'm going to go down. Once I go down, almost to where my trunk is at, I'm going to make another line that goes to the side. Then we're going to go back up to finish off this leg. And then we're going to give him a tummy. Now that we have that, we're going to start going back and adding in some of our details. Like right in this area by the trunk, if you want to add in a tusk for your elephant, you can do it right there. I think I'm going to make mine a little bit more rounded up like that. And then I'm going to grab my eraser and I'm going to erase these lines that are showing up because I want my trunk to be its own thing with no lines on the inside. Once I have that, I'm actually going to add my elephant's ear on. And to do that, I'm going to draw a round line that goes up, down, and then back up. So it's like a C facing this way. I'm going to erase some of these little lines that are showing up. And now I'm just going to go in and start adding in some of those details that we need. Right here at the bottom of my trunk, I'm going to add some lines. Down here on my elephant's foot, I'm going to give him 2 little toes. For his knee right here, I'm just going to add in some round lines. Towards the front of his face, I'm going to add in some more lines. And then the only thing we have left to add is his eye. And I'm going to put his eye right in here. So to draw his eye, start with one rounded line for the top, and then another rounded line for the bottom, and then a circle on the inside. I'm also going to add some lines that just scoop around the eye. And then maybe a little line here inside his ear. So now what I want to do is I want to put a hat, a headdress, and I also want something for the back of my elephant. So I'm going to draw one line scooping down right here, and then another line scooping down right here. So these are going to be my two areas I'm going to decorate. I actually have a sheet right here that has some different designs kind of inspired by India. And if you see, they really like patterns and flower shapes. So I'm going to look at these to help inspire me for designing my headdress. So how you design yours is kind of up to you. There's no right or wrong way, especially since we're just kind of practicing and getting to know more. So you can see the different details and designs. I'm going to move you a little bit closer. That I'm adding onto my headdress. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to outline all of this, and I'm going to color in my headdress and this back part, but the rest of it I'm going to just outline so I can paint it in. So here's that, and now I'm going to work on this back part. I really like this design. So I'm going to work on getting this drawn, and then we're going to start coloring in and outlining. All right, so I have my headdress and the back piece on my elephant all colored in and designed. Now I just want to go over my pencil lines using, you can either use a black, gray, or white crown. And if you're not painting this in, you could even use a marker to help you outline. But I'm just going to go over all of these pencil lines, and I am going to go over them using this gray crown. And what this is going to do is it's going to help these lines really stand out, because crowns are made of wax, and wax resists water, which is what we're using for our paints. We're using some paints that require some water. It's going to make these lines still be able to show. And it's also going to help while I'm painting lock in the paint into these areas, so hopefully it doesn't blend with the other colors that I'm adding in. So I'm going to get this all outlined, and then we're going to move on to our next step. I also used a black crown, and I added that to my eye. And once I'm done outlining this, I'm going to grab my paint so I can paint this in. You might not be using paints, but if you have them, this is a pretty fun one to paint. And what we want to do is we're talking about contrast. So we want to paint in our elephant in our background, specifically using some contrasting colors. I'm going to go grab another paper just so I can show you what those are before I start painting. All right, so we have 3 primary colors, and those are yellow, red, and blue. They're called their primary colors because you cannot mix 2 colors together to make these colors. They just exist on their own, and we mix them together in different ways to make our secondary colors. And our secondary colors are the colors that come second after we mix together our primary colors. So when you're thinking about where to put colors, red and blue make purple. So I would put purple in between those two. Orange is made by yellow and red. And then lastly, green is made by yellow and blue. So contrasting colors are also called complementary colors because they look really good next to each other. They're across from each other on the color wheel. So our first set is blue and orange, yellow and purple, and then red and green. So because they're across from each other on the color wheel, they're almost like opposites. And because they're opposites, they look good next to each other. They help each other shine. So what you want to do is you want to pick one set of these, whether you're using yellow and purple, red or green, or blue and orange, and you're going to use those to color in your elephant in the background. So in my example, I used purple and yellow. So I'm going to use one of these colors for the inside of my elephant and then one of these colors for the outside. I think I'm going to use blue and orange since I've already used yellow and purple. So I can decide whether I want the inside or the outside to be orange, and then I would use blue for the other one. I think I'm going to do orange for the inside. And if you see, whenever I paint over where I'd put down that crown for the knee detail, it's still showing up because wax resists water. It's called wax resist. Whenever your paint doesn't stick to where you put down any crown, it could even be an oil pastel. So I'm going to work on getting my elephant painted in orange, and then we're going to paint in the background using blue because that is the complementary color to orange. And I don't have to try to paint around my crown lines. I'm kind of just going right on top of them because I know it's not going to stick. So I'm going to get this painted in, and then we'll move on to our next step, which is going to be painting in our background. And if you don't have paints, you can use whatever you have to color in. You could use markers, you could use crowns again. Colored pencils would also be another really good one for this. But I'm going to be using paints because I think that looks the best. But I also understand that not everyone has a bunch of paints. Not everyone's an art teacher with a bunch of art supplies just sitting around. And I try to be mindful to that because I don't really care what you guys use to make your project. I think that's like an art skill, kind of adapting to what you have. So I'm going to get this painted in, and then I'm going to get my background painted in. All right, so my table's messy and I need to clean it up, but I have my elephant all done. I did orange for the outside, so that means I had to do blue, I did orange for the inside. That means I had to use blue for the outside. And I think they look really, really good together. I think using contrasting, otherwise known as complementary colors, is a way to grab people's attention to your artwork just because the colors look really striking next to each other. I'm going to go find a safe place for this to dry and get my area all cleaned up, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. I can't wait to see how your projects come out, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.